Soldiers of Shoot.
Soldiers of Shoot here. Hollywood Edwards with me is the Electric City Saint, and we are bringing you another double trouble. That's right, double shot Monday Night Raw and Smackdown review. Read 'em in weep style. That's right, because I watched maybe about, 15 minutes of both shows. So we are going to read results, and I know my good friend here, the Electric City Saint, probably didn't watch any of it. Saint, how you feeling? Double trouble, here we go. Big news. Raw and Smackdown.
Dude, as you just said, I did not watch it at all, but I'm kind of interested to see what you have to offer tonight as far as breaking this down and seeing what the hell happened, because it was a bit of a slow week here, but I think despite all that, we have some good things to look forward to outside of the WWE realm.
Absolutely. Thankfully, too.
Thankfully, yes.
So how you been, Saint? Anything in Saint Land that we should talk about? Or
dude, nothing really all that exciting. I finally got Red Dead Redemption 2. I know you and the other guy from Virginia.
Say his name.
Both have it.
Shout out Whitey. What's going on, White? Red Dead boy.
Yeah, we're just busting you, White.
Did you start it yet?
Yeah, I started. In the middle of chapter 2. You two have had it for quite a while, and I don't know why the hell I did not get this sooner, because I'm absolutely blown away by it. It's ridiculous, dude.
It is. It really is. That's the perfect word. Ridiculous.
And it's like when you have something that's that good, inspiring like that, the way that game is and everything, dude, I'd rather just play that instead of watching Raw or SmackDown for 5 hours.
Of course.
They got to give me a reason to shut the game off and play and watch that instead. And last week they certainly didn't, and I'm gonna be curious to see what they did this week, if it would be enough to change my mind or not. I'm predicting probably not.
Well, let's get into it. Here we go. From Monday night. This is 8/7/6th, May 6th episode of Monday Night Raw. And I will be honest again with you listeners and viewers. By the way, if you haven't subbed, give us a sub. We need some. I'll be honest, I watched the opening of Raw, and I turned it back on at 10:30. Just in time to see the most embarrassing thing on wrestling I've seen in quite some time, and we'll get into that. And nothing from SmackDown this week, so this is all a mystery to me, other than the scuttlebutt I've seen on Twitter, how bad these shows were. So here we go. Vince starts it off, and he welcomes us and says, "This will be a Raw for the ages, pal. One that nobody will ever forget." Music interrupts, and it's Roman Reigns. Vince says he doesn't know why Reigns is out here, but if he's thinking about hitting him with another Superman punch, the Cincinnati police are waiting nearby. Second, Reigns has been assigned to SmackDown. Why the hell is he out here on Raw? Saint, I would like to know the same thing, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I'd also like to know why they didn't even address what the hell happened last week, because I think you told me this later that night, that they didn't even address the punch from the previous week or something.
No, what I just read, that's as far as it went, which is hysterical.
That's about it from the sounds of it, yeah.
Reigns says Vince better watch his tone. Reigns says he is on SmackDown, but he's been on Raw for a long time, and said he would always leave the brand better than he found it. Reigns says while he was away for a few months, he watched Vince and his spoiled kids tell the fans that they were the authority now, not the McMahon family. Reigns says that was a lie because his spoiled children have still been running the show. Reigns says he's done listening. He no longer takes orders from Vince. He listens to the WWE Universe. Vince says Reigns just thinks he can show up where he wants and the fans will like it, yeah. Reigns points to the pop from the crowd and says he might start showing up every Monday night. Vince says that won't be happening because it could lead to the floodgates opening and Vince losing all control. Just then the music hits. Daniel Bryan comes out. Then Kofi Kingston comes out. Okay? You with me so far, Saint?
Yeah, all SmackDown guys, right?
Yeah, interesting, huh? So Daniel Bryan and Kofi are going back and forth, and Vince said, and now here it is. This is the setup for the big ratings fix moving forward. Vince says, I just had an epiphany, pal. He says, what if we had a wild card rule? What if he allowed 3 members of Raw to go to SmackDown on occasion, and 3 members of SmackDown go to Raw on occasion? Vince says, I'm a genius for thinking of this wild card rule. Drew McIntyre comes out. Long story short, we have Vince books 2 WrestleMania rematches here. So the main event for this night is the rematch between Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston for the title. Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. And one of those little segue gimmicks that they do, AJ came out, and then Seth came out, and then the commercial happened. So then now we're in the ring with Vince and Seth and AJ. Long story short, they were arguing. Vince says, you can do it tonight, but you're not going to be going against each other. You're going with each other, which set up a match between Lashley and Corbin to kick the show off. So it was AJ and Seth. So let's back up. First part of the segment here. They are now deciding with this wild card rule. I guess this is the big fix for the ratings falling. Electric City Saint. What do you think of this? Because I tell you what. It's just, you know, we talk and talk, don't we? And what did we spend time on last week, you and I? We brought up many things that they could do. This one, I didn't even think
not
of.
One of them.
No. But I guess this is the best they could do. Go ahead, give me your thoughts.
Oh, dude, what a weird name for it. Like, I don't know, like, McMahon is just so weird sometimes, dude. He seriously is. Like, when you think of the wild card, like, you think, you know, the NBA playoffs is like the team that, you know, or even, you know, the NFL playoffs, they have the wild card round, and then they're like the last team that makes it into the full, you know, final bracket of, you know, the playoff teams. And, you know, I'm hearing this, and wild card don't even, like, is not even a good fit for the name of this, like the rule or whatever the hell they want to call it. Like, I don't know, it's just such a cop dude, it's such a cop out, dude. It's like, I don't know, at this point, they'd be better off just getting rid of the brand split totally, instead of like, to me, this is like, it just feels like a total cop out, dude. Yeah,
it's so weird. It's just weird. You're right. Like, it doesn't, the term wild card doesn't apply to just moving 3 guys whenever you want to. It's just, you're right. At this point, they're better off just saying, well, we're going to keep the 29 titles we have, but the brand split is ending. Just, you have to turn on to see what's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, I got a question for you, too, quick about this. You mentioned earlier they had, like, that weird segue. What do you think about them, like, segment bleeds they have? Because I'm not a big fan of them at all.
I hate them.
It's like it's something new they've been doing, like, the last, like, 6 months now or something, maybe even less. But, dude, I hate it, that segment bleed they do like that. Oh, geez. That's one of the many reasons that I can't get into it, dude. I just can't.
Yeah, it's something little that really annoys me. You know, because then you think, okay, somebody's coming up, and they're not really coming out. They're not really interrupting. It's just, it's very weird. I guess it's just a reason to go to commercial during an entrance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To me, too, it seems like they're trying too hard to have it be like Crash TV or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like, keep the action going, but really there's no action happening. It's just like, you're right, yeah. It's just
entrance. It's just entrances, yeah.
Yeah, it's like fake Crash TV. It's weird. Okay, so we have then Styles.
And, you know,
go ahead.
And not to cut you off, but in the past, I mean, you know, when it's done right, that could be successful. I mean, look at what Vince Russo and, you know, some of them other guys did in the past. They were able to make, you know, that style of TV work. And this half-hearted, half-assed version that WWE's doing right now just ain't cutting it.
No, and they knew when to take proper commercial breaks back then too. It's just weird now.
Yeah.
AJ and Seth against Lashley and Corbin. The heels go over, obviously because AJ abandoned his partner at ringside, so he is definitely coming off as the heel in this little feud with Seth here. After the match,
good
Rollins.
Decision too. I was going to say good decision too. I think with him and Rollins, I think he's better suited to be the heel in that.
Yeah, totally. What I was just about to read didn't matter. It was just Rollins looking on, whatever. We see what happened to The Miz last week at the hands of Shane McMahon and Lashley. The camera cuts backstage to Miz taking a seat outside of Shane's office. Michael Cole says Miz is waiting for Shane to arrive to the building. Okay, here we go. Wild card. Now, Vince just said 3-3, right? So let's do a head count. Roman. That's one, right? Roman.
Yep.
And we got who else in the first segment?
We already forgot.
Was Kofi 2 and Daniel Bryan 3.
Oh, that Daniel Bryan, yeah.
Right. Okay. So Shane and Miz, what brand are they on right now? I don't even know.
I don't even know either. I was thinking they were on SmackDown, but maybe I could be wrong about that.
Okay. I think Miz came over in the actual shakeup, but I think Shane stayed on SmackDown, so there might be 4 already. So they're
already going over the rule.
Right. We go to the ring, and out comes Sami Zayn. Now, we talked about this last week, and did you bring up Ricochet would be a good guy to go against Sami?
I believe I did. That might have been, I don't know, that might have been me or AC. I don't even remember now.
Can't remember either.
But I do agree that I think he'd be a good pick for that. And I also think I might have even brought up Bray Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
As,
that's what you said.
Him be a face, yeah.
Yeah, it was Bray Wyatt that you mentioned. But both are wrong. It was Braun Strowman. So Braun basically chased Sami out of the ring after he was cutting his promo on the fans, and he ended up throwing him into a dump. Did that happen yet? I did see a clip of that. Braun chases Sami through the crowd now, back into the ring and back out of it. They run up the ramp and past the announcers right out of the arena. Didn't happen yet. We'll get there. Any thoughts on that?
Dude, I wonder what it is that they don't turn Braun Strowman heel again, because I think it would really benefit him big time. I just think his face run so far, he really isn't getting anywhere. No. As weird as that sounds. And then I also kind of feel like, if he was a heel, maybe you could have him up against Rollins. Maybe that would be a pretty cool match. That would kind of elevate him, I think, to have a big match against him. But I guess maybe people in that company feel like he isn't really main event caliber yet, because he's had a few shots at it in the past, and he really, they didn't really ever give him the ball and let him run with it.
Well, you're going to have more Braun. So the Lucha House Party comes out to have a match with 3 jobbers. It says 3 enhancement talents, and their names aren't even listed here. So I don't know who they were wrestling, but the camera cut when Lucha House Party hit the ring and did their entrance. Backstage, Braun Strowman, that's when he grabs Sami Zayn, throws him into a dumpster. And we hear a trash truck pull up. The truck lifts the dumpster and empties it in the back of the truck, and Sami Zayn is still in there. He got crushed by a garbage truck.
It'd be funny, if he just randomly shows up the next week, because realistically, he should basically be either, like you said, dead or injured or something, and they'll just randomly show up. It's very. I kind of feel weird about them doing that though too, because there was a good indie wrestler that he worked on the side and was in garbage disposal like that, and he accidentally got crushed by something like that and actually did get killed. So that's that happened a few years back. So but at the same time, it's kind of weird for them to go and do something like that.
Well, I'm gonna assume that it was worked as far as like the cameras cutting back and forth, but okay. Interesting. You don't know what happens on SmackDown, so just remember you saying that. Okay, what you just said.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Lucha House Party wins, of course. Go to the ring. Ricochet defeats Robert Roode. Dude, listen.
He's supposed to be getting a push.
Yeah, two weeks ago.
He loses 2 weeks in a row, I thought, didn't he?
Well, they changed his name 2 weeks ago, and then he beat Ricochet. And then the next week, which was last week, he wasn't on the show. But this week, Ricochet wins. So it's that 50-50 booking. Like, this is why nobody ever gets over on anybody. Because one guy wins, the next guy wins, you know?
Yeah, I just don't get it, dude. Like, even like in the 90s, you wouldn't really have the same two guys wrestle like that, you know. But like, if they're going to have a rematch, they're not going to do it that quickly like that. Like, usually they'll have filler matches in between where maybe they'll face, like, you know, like you said earlier, an enhancement talent, or maybe they're in a tag team match, the other guy jumps them, and that, you know, leads fuel to the fire for them to actually do a rematch. They don't just randomly wrestle every other week and then one guy wins, the other guy wins, you know. Like, I don't know, they've a lot of easy, you know, wrestling storytelling elements are like lost on them these days. Like, I don't like, to me it isn't that complicated to do something like that and make it work.
Yeah, I don't understand anything on this show anymore, honestly. The announcers show us recent happenings between Joe and Ray. Ray will challenge Joe for the U.S. belt at Money in the Bank. Backstage, Ray says goodbye to Dominic and goes into his dressing room. Dominic starts walking away, and Joe pops up behind him like he's stalking him. Okay, they go to break, and then back from the break, Samoa Joe stops Dominic. Joe gets in Dominic's face and yells at him about his dad. Joe orders Dominic to take a message back to his dad. He may have had the upper hand in last week's match, but Joe will take pleasure in destroying Ray at Money in the Bank. Electric City Saint, you said that this was going to be an angle with Dominic. Where do you see this going, and do you care, more importantly?
Dude, I really do think they're going to turn that kid heel, and it's either going to be really funny or it's going to be like really bad. And I think it, you know, it has potential to be a good storyline to, you know, further boost Ray versus Joe. But at the same time, we've already kind of seen it in certain varieties over the past, 2 months now. So I think, unfortunately, they needed to do this sooner, and I think they're not going to really have my attention for it as much as I would kind of like to see how that all transpires, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next, we go to the ring, and out comes Lacey Evans for the next match. Naomi is out next as she received a ringside invite from Evans. The others who received invites are out next: Natalya, Dana Brooke, and Alexa Bliss. Evans faces off with an enhancement talent, Ali Katrina, as the bell rings. The other superstars watch from the ramp. Evans gives them some attention and easily gets the win after a big women's right for the pin. Lacey Evans wins. Becky Lynch comes down. The man comes down. Becky hits the ring and immediately starts brawling with Evans. They go to the floor and back in with Becky in control. Becky goes for the disarmer, but Evans retreats to the floor. Evans smiles and backs up the ramp while Becky taunts her from the ring. Becky stands tall as her music hits. Thoughts?
Geez, I'm slowly like losing it with Becky Lynch. You know, like I was pretty much the quickest person to defend her over the Rumble and WrestleMania, you know, time span on this, you know, on our channel here. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I'm slowly like lost interest with her as well. Like the white hot run she had, if you even want to call it that, you know, I think it's slowly dissipating.
Dude, their ratings are down. And she's one of the reasons why, I think. Oh my.
Well, it don't help either that she has both belts, I think. You know, I can understand at the same time why they did that at WrestleMania, but also, like, I don't know. I think they'd really benefit from getting at least one of them, if not both, off of her at the Money in the Bank. I think you and me have talked about it even last week that you'd like to see potentially her lose both. And as much as I like her, I'm kind of almost on board with that, dude.
Yeah, I think it was okay that they did what they did at Mania, but obviously they didn't have a plan coming out, and now we are seeing the result of that non-plan. They didn't have a plan for anybody. They didn't have a plan for Kofi. They didn't have a plan for Becky, and this is the problem with WWE.
They don't have like an overall general plan either, and I think that's why everything has slowly, devolved into this, like we said, like half-assed brand split, like ending type of thing, which, it's officially it's not, but at the same time, it's like at this point, they really should just pull the trigger and just say it's done.
It's the wild card.
Yeah.
Got the wild card, pal. Viking Raiders defeat Hawkins and Zack Ryder in a non-title match. Was that a match from last week?
Yeah, I think they did that 2 weeks in a row. Because I swear you told me that same match when we were on last week.
Non-title. I have a feeling that did happen. I don't know. Dude, nothing happened.
Guess what? And you know what's going to happen with that? They're going to win they're going to win the non-title matches that don't matter. And then, of course, like when it actually does matter, and they're the team I think that would benefit more from winning that match. Damn well they're probably going to lose.
Yep. Okay, they go to break. Back from the break. Firefly Funhouse. Mercy the Buzzard and Abby the Witch are with Wyatt tonight. Mercy ends up getting rid of Rambling Rabbit and apparently eating him because he didn't like him due to his bohemian beliefs. Wyatt says, "It's perfect to express yourself any way you want." Wyatt also mentions a message that anyone can be forgiven no matter what, as he was. The segment ends with Wyatt sitting with a bunch of, they say, bored-looking kids here in this article. I would say zombified, brainwashed kids, telling us that he will see us next week. Now, did you see this?
Yeah, this was the only segment regarding Raw well, actually, no, that isn't true. I saw 2 segments for Raw. You sent me a
I know
clip
what the
of
other
one
one is.
of them.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think of the Funhouse this week?
Another good episode. Like I said, I like it, and I think, the people had fear with this going into the very first episode, the very first 20 seconds, and we've seen gradually over the last 3 weeks it's gotten darker. We're seeing more elements of the original Bray Wyatt character. So I think the fear with this was a little unjustified and unwarranted, because I think a lot of people just didn't give it a chance. They didn't really quite understand it. And right off the bat here, we're only 3 weeks into the storyline, and it's really gotten a hell of a lot darker.
Yeah, totally. Poor Rambling Rabbit lost his head. So I'm wondering if next week does he come out and, have Rambling Rabbit repaired? Maybe he's got a new neck or a different head or something, almost like you remember Toy Story, where the kid was putting the different toys together and destroying the toys and all that. I wonder if it's going to have a different look to it, or I don't know, maybe Mercy will get killed. Maybe the witch will kill Mercy. Who knows? Who knows what could happen in the Funhouse? But what about the kids? I thought the kids sitting there was pretty interesting. Yeah,
I thought that was a nice touch, and like you said, they didn't really. I wouldn't even go as far as saying bored. I'd say, like you said, they either look like zombified or maybe even miserable or something like that. They really did look like they told them kids to look as miserable as possible, like they didn't want to be there or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think it's a good touch for what they're going with this. But at the same time, we even said this last week, they got to be very careful with the direction they go with this, because you said the networks they're kind of concerned about the look that this is giving off. So them actually going out and actually having like little kids on the set of this week, I haven't really heard any backlash from it yet, but at the same time, like I said, they got to be a little bit careful with that. So we really have no idea quite just yet, like what the big outcome of this is going to be, because this could go a number of different ways, and I think that's the exciting part about it.
I would agree, but I think the general public overall now has given it 3 weeks, and I think they're going to need to see something next week that's going to give us some clue as to what the hell's going on here.
Yeah, I think if they don't pull the trigger soon, I think a lot of people will start bitching about it, because that's just how everybody is. They just don't have no patience with anything. I guess that's more of a generational issue than anything, but I digress.
Yep. Quick. So I think it's time that they do something there. Okay. Roman Reigns versus Drew is next. Yeah, Vince calls himself a genius, and he's making jokes in the ring, but yet here we are. He's giving you WrestleMania rematches, and yeah, the rating went up, but not by much. We'll get there. Reigns goes to put Drew... Reigns goes.
I was going to say, I thought they actually like build it as the WrestleMania rematches too, which is, it's very weird that they do that, because we're like 2 months removed from it.
Pretty much. Reigns goes to put Drew away, but Shane and Elias hit the ring for the disqualification. So Roman got attacked and Drew was DQ'd. The beatdown continues. Then that's where the Miz shows up, because he was waiting for Shane backstage. Okay, I think I need to read this here for a second. The camera cuts backstage to Shane running away from Miz. Shane ducks behind a corner and Miz goes running past. Charlie Caruso approaches Shane for comments, but Shane is terrified and trying to get away. The camera catches Shane getting into a stretch vehicle to drive away, but Miz attacks him with a steel chair, goes to work on him. Shane fights back and they brawl with each other near the back of the arena. Shane drops Miz against the wall and gets in the limousine, yelling at the driver to hurry away. Miz is still down, trying to recover. Okay, so at least they're doing something outside the arena. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a nice touch for them to do something like that. Kind of reminds me of, like, in the past on Nitro, they would have, people get hit by cars or whatever in the back, like the parking lot area and different things like that. And sometimes it was quirky, kind of corny, but at the same time, there were some cool moments with some of that stuff they did that led towards, the fuel to the fire, towards bigger feuds and stuff. And, I like that they're doing something like that with this. It's going to be, it's 2 months later. I'm kind of surprised they're still doing this storyline, but at the same time, I actually think they could have another good match out of this. So, in a way, I'm kind of glad they're keeping it going, but at the same time, it's like this match, if they haven't, whatever their next match is, that should be it, I would say.
Yeah, they have to kill it off with their next one. Absolutely. Now, here's the other part that you saw. The Revival versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. This is the moment. Okay, this is the moment. You're a wrestling fan. Let's say a non-wrestling fan walks into the room and sits down and watches this with you. This is when you're embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. That's what I'll say this next segment was, okay? Whether you're a younger person and your mom walked in and she sat down and saw this and you got embarrassed, whether it was your boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it was your wife or your husband that don't watch wrestling come in, you know what I'm saying. Here it is. Revival versus Gallows and Anderson. The bell rings, but the Usos interrupt from the stage. They ask the Revival if they are familiar with Icy Hot. They have replaced the product the Revival uses with something they call Usi Hot. It makes the Revival start itching about the time they start sweating, which is right about now. Okay, the Revival, if you haven't seen this, the one guy is down on the mat rubbing his ass like a dog, okay, trying to, okay, he's itchy, get it, okay. One of the Revival guys has his shirt off, and he's got it between his legs, and he's itching They run up to the Usos, who have water. And because it's sweat activated, one of the Usos explains, no, don't dump it on yourself. You shouldn't have did that. That's going to make it worse. It's sweat activated. You're supposed to drink it. Okay. Saint, at this point, it's bad enough. But I think it was Dawson actually oversells this whole thing. Does a monkey flip behind the Usos onto the ramp by himself and starts rolling around because he's so itchy. Dude, this, I understand who Vince McMahon is, okay? This is right up his alley. Whoever wrote this in the back did it to pop Vince. There is no chance in hell that anybody with a right mind would write this in 2019, yet here we are. They have a ratings problem, okay? This is hour 3. This is about 10:30 at night they're showing this. If you made it through this to see Kofi and Daniel Bryan, I applaud you. Because I actually turned it back on at this point, and this was the second thing that I saw. And I turned it back off. I couldn't believe that I turned it on to see the Usos talking about Usi Hot, and these guys are like overselling this itching crotch. Dude, this is the answer. This is the answer, Saint. This is Vince McMahon. This is the best he can do. Dude, their rating is going to drop again next week. Because now that people tuned in and they got 2.2 instead of 2.1 for 3 hours, it might drop lower. Down below 2.1. What did we get? And we'll get to the championship match in a minute. But what did we get? We got this. We got 2 WrestleMania rematches. And we got a quickie tag match with AJ and Seth as partners. That's what they gave us in the big rating spike by having Roman Reigns come over. And they were tweeting that before Raw came on, that Roman was going to show up tonight, blah, 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 trying to get a social media buzz going on. It garnered them 100,000 more people than last week, and this is what they gave us. Saint, make me sane. What in the hell is McMahon thinking?
Dude, I have no clue what the hell he's thinking. And, them, 100,000 that did turn back in for this week, I bet a lot of them instantly regretted it. Especially once this segment actually, when that came on at around 10:30, like the whole thing, in my opinion, was a total disgrace practically. But at the same time, I would say that this shows you just how professional, Dash and Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson are, because I think a lot of people, if they were told that they're gonna have to go out there and do that, they would tell them hell no. And they went out there, and despite all that, they stayed real professional and did what they were asked, even though they practically had to embarrass themselves and everything. And that's a good testament to them as far as their how professional they are. But at the same time, it's like they really should not have to be forced to do something that humiliating and embarrassing and goofy like that. I can't even tell you how many people that probably would have got a laugh out of that. I think most people, like you said, probably would have been embarrassed seeing that, if they're they have their buddy over watching it, or their mother walked in and seeing that, or whatever. I think there's probably only maybe 45% or less of that audience actually probably laughed at that. I'm thinking most of them were probably either people that were drunk off their ass, or maybe little kids that got a little laugh out of it. But dude, it shows you just how bad a lot of this stuff is and how much they're running out of ideas. I mean, if this is the best idea they can come up with to get a big ratings pop, then they're in serious trouble.
This was just unbelievable. This took the cake for me. So, oh man. All right. Apparently, Lars Sullivan came out and beat somebody up again. They go to commercial.
Dude, how many weeks are they going to do that? We literally talked about this last week. They did it last week. I'm pretty sure they did it the previous week. I mean, they've been basically doing this since WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yep.
He still hasn't had a match yet, has he?
No, he's just doing this.
Oh my God.
McMahon's on the phone in the back, and he's telling them about the wild card rule. He's a genius, da-da-da-da-da. And then he goes, yeah, it's going to be 3 each week. Yeah, 3 whenever, 3 from here and there. And then Lars Sullivan walks into the ring, and Vince is looking at him, and he goes, talk. And Lars walks off, and Vince is like, okay, 4. So I guess Lars is technically on SmackDown, and he was telling Vince, hey, I'm the 4th guy here, even though he's actually the 5th or 6th guy from SmackDown on the show tonight. Dude, this is insanity. It's insanity.
Dude, I just don't know why on earth they decided to do this whole thing. Apparently part of it is, I guess, they had pressure from the networks, and apparently this was their way of doing a compromise. But at the same time, I mean, dude, if this is the best they could come up with, it's like, I don't know. I seriously think they could have like teenagers running that promotion that would come up with better ideas.
Oh, absolutely. The last match was obviously Kofi versus Bryan for the title, and Kofi won. Clean. That's it. That's your Raw. 2.2 million people tuned in.
Now, was this an increase or a decrease?
This was a slight increase from last week. They had 100,000 more people. 100,000.
That's only going to last that 1 week. It's got. I realistically, I think it's got to go down next week. There's no way it doesn't. And dude, if this is, I don't know, like seriously, like how this isn't like a moment of clarity for them. I would actually like, maybe you can answer this. I'm not sure, but dude, I think, Fox is looking at this probably, and they're probably instantly regretting signing off on SmackDown.
Yes.
And I would love to know, like, if it's too late, or if they could already back out of this and say, we're just not even going to carry it now. Like, because I think probably legally they're probably bound to at least do like a season or whatever the hell it is, but because it hasn't technically aired yet, maybe they could cancel it before it even starts. I mean, dude, that would be crazy to think about, but we could. I think it could be a possibility where we might actually have SmackDown not be aired and not have a channel at all to carry it. I mean, it's a strong possibility.
Yeah, I can't answer your question because obviously none of us have seen that contract. We're not privy to that, but I mean, I can't imagine money exchanged hands yet. So
yeah.
Look, it's May, and they're going to debut September, October, whenever that official week kicks in for the new season. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have intent to do the deal. I don't know if the deal is done. But, I mean, you're going to sign a TV show. You're going to pick up a TV show for your network. June, July, August, September. That's 4 months from now. So if, let's say, 4 weeks ago after Mania, they did a 2.9 for Raw. And I don't remember what SmackDown was. But let's just say, for argument's sake, they would, in 5 months, they're pulling in for SmackDown 1.5 million people. Let's just say everybody just gets so frustrated and turns off, they lose another 400,000 people in the next 5 months, which is quite perfectly reasonable, right? Could happen. Could happen. I mean, does Fox look at that and go, whoa, we did business, 6 months ago when you were pulling in close to the 2.5, 3 million people here with your shows. And you're not doing that now. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows? I would say that SmackDown may be on the WWE network like before the end of 2020. Whether that means they bump it, let's say they let it run through winter and they get shit ratings, and then the new year comes for the next season, maybe they bump it to FS1, and then the next move is out the door. I don't know. I guess they can cancel it at any time. That's what they do with any other TV show.
Yeah, that's like seriously, that's what I would love to know. Like, what could happen with this? Because if you think about it, say they do back out of that, we could potentially, see SmackDown not even have a network to host it, because we're talking they basically have like 4 to 5 months. I highly doubt they'd be able to find another network in time.
All right, moving into SmackDown. First guy out is AJ Styles, thanks to Vince McMahon's new WWE wildcard rule. AJ says he missed SmackDown. Dude, what is this?
Dude, he just on there 2 weeks ago, and he somehow misses it. Oh yeah, and it's the same exact.
It is the dumbest
exact audience, bro.
It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. They're pretending like, oh my god.
I could see him maybe saying he missed being in that specific town or city or something, but changing whatever brand you're on or whatever, it's really silly to say something like that. I mean, I'm a big fan, obviously, of AJ Styles. I've said it probably thousands of times within the last 3 years since you and me have known each other, 4 years or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if it's the scripting or what, but they have him say some of the stupidest shit sometimes on there.
Okay. I'm composed. I don't know. I don't know what the hell he's saying. And then Sami Zayn comes out. Rips on Kentucky, hillbillies, blah, blah, blah. AJ mentions Sami smelling like a foot because of Braun Strowman dumping him in the trash on Raw. Okay, so here we go. Saint. Here's two things you just said. AJ says stupid shit. Check. And let's back up. About a half hour ago, you said, Sami Zayn, did he die? Whatever. No, it'd be funny if he showed up next week. Well, here he is the next night.
Oh, my God. Seriously. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, I realize they can't just kill a guy off or whatever, but seriously, at least, they could have sold it like maybe even got injured during it or something, or, have him be off air maybe even 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, I realize you can't go crazy with it, but at the same time, sell it for me. It's it's instantly forgotten about, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kofi and Xavier Woods come out. Sammy says Kofi's not about to sit here and offer AJ a title shot. Sammy hopes Kofi isn't considering that. I'm just going to skip all this. The fans are chanting about Sammy smelling bad. Ooh, this is just awesome. Unfucking believable, this shit. Look at this. A triple threat chant starts. Kofi doesn't care who the match is against because he will remain the WWE champion. The New Day's music hits as Kofi has words with AJ and... What the hell? What? So, no McMahon, no booking here? What? No, they're insulting each other? This has to be written wrong. I don't see anything. It's just insults. I don't know. Kofi says he is a fighting champion, and to prove that, he wants to put it on the line tonight against either of them. A triple threat chant starts. New Day's music hits. That's it. All right, maybe we'll get back to that. I don't know. Jesus. Dude, this is painful.
Yes, it is.
This is painful. I'm seriously in pain. Ali defeated Andrade by DQ. Randy Ortonly suddenly hit the ring. Randy Ortonly suddenly hit the ring and attacked Ali from behind for the DQ. After the bell, Vega tries to pull Andrade to safety from a draping DDT by Orton. Orton gets kicked. Ali with a shot and some trash talking to Orton. Orton stares him down. Ali blocks the RKO attempts. Orton drops Ali with an RKO out of no. Andrade comes flying off the top rope at Orton, but he gets caught in another RKO out of nowhere for an even bigger pop. Orton stands tall and poses as his music hits. Why did Orton interrupt this match?
Yeah, I got to question that too, because I don't really see what he would have to do with either of those two guys, or why he'd like if you're looking at this from a realistic standpoint, okay, you want to make a statement or whatever, but at the same time, why would you purposely, essentially get heat on you, but with two different guys. Like, because now all of a sudden he's going to have two targets on his back instead of one. Like, it just doesn't seem smart. Like, I know they don't think of nothing like that, obviously, but it's like, realistically, if you're going to like interrupt a match like that, I think you would only attack one of the guys, not, get into a brawl with the both of them. I don't know. It's really stupid, and this just shows you I really think they don't know what they're doing with a lot of these guys. I mean,
No.
Granted, him versus Andrade could be a good match. Like, I could see that being very well done, depending on what they do with it. But at the same time, it's like, then you have Ali in the mix. So, like, what are they actually going with that? I don't think they know.
They don't know. Yeah. Shane McMahon is in the ring. He's going to talk about the SmackDown tag division. If you remember, the Hardys vacated last week, right?
Yeah, but I think, did you say Jeff was injured, right?
Yeah. I'm not even going to read the promo. I see the Usos come out, which is great because wild card. Brian and Rowan beat the Usos up. Shane calls for a referee. Okay, so there you go. There's the big match. No tournament, no nothing. It's just one match.
Keep in mind as well, they're already over that limit with the wild card thing. They said 3 or 4. They're already over the limit. They're already. It's like, oh my god! Like I said, seriously, at this point, just cancel the whole brand split.
Yep.
I just don't know why they didn't decide just to say fuck it at that point.
Okay, so
hey, maybe Lars comes out every single week and McMahon's forced to keep up in it by one until eventually it does get to the full brand split.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great if they. You know what? That would be entertaining. You know what? Make it 5, pal. Make it 6. Make it 7, and it's Lars every time. That'd be funny. Daniel, Bryan, and Rowan won.
Be excited for Lars then at that point.
Bryan and Rowan are the tag champs. So there you go.
Dude, seriously, I could kind of get it. Like, they probably don't have a whole lot for Bryan since he came back for the injury, but at the same time, again, they're doing this whole thing where they're shooting down the actual established tag teams and just have random, combined people win the belt, and I don't think that's a good look when you're trying to keep the Revival, you're trying to keep the Usos and all these guys from leaving, and I don't know, it drives me nuts. Like
Anderson and Gallows came out for a match, and they watched the Usi Hot get at the Revival. That's what they did last night on Raw.
Yeah.
Dude, it's insanity. It's ridiculous. None of it makes sense to me. Bryan lost the title match on Raw. Shane puts him in the tag team. Now he's a tag team champion the next night, 24 hours later. Okay. I guess that's the consolation prize.
Dude, we're like in one of the weirdest times for tag team wrestling, because I feel like it's on both ends of the spectrum. It's practically at the lowest point it's ever been, and it's also I feel like on the other side of things, part of it, if you look outside of WWE, it's actually at its highest point. It's WWE that doesn't care about tag team wrestling. They've totally buried it, and to the point where it's basically a joke.
I almost feel like this is, the indie show where, not indie wrestling or any indie company specifically, but when wrestling comes to town, like the local show at the high school that has no meaning. That's what this is every freaking week. It's just a show with angles that don't really make sense. It's there to be there, just to get a show.
Yep, and again, it's to the point where the wins and losses don't matter. I thought a couple months back they actually did say that wins and losses are going to matter, and I don't think they do.
No.
Because especially when I even made fun of this last week, they're automatically just inserting people into the Money in the Bank match. They're not really looking at match like their win-loss records. They're not like actually having like matches like that are qualifying matches. Oh no, we're just going to stick you right in there. You already earned your spot just by being on the roster.
Okay.
Oh my God,
so
it's a joke.
Here's Brian and Rowan walk backstage with their titles. Heavy Machinery stops, congratulates them, looks them up and down. Brian looks from Otis to Rowan and just shakes his head. Brian walks off and Rowan follows as Heavy Machinery stares at them. So there you go. There's your next match.
Dude, I forgot they were still there.
There's another team.
I honestly thought they cut one of them guys and they dropped that whole thing, but I guess apparently they're both still there.
Still there. Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose defeated Ember Moon and Carmella. After the match, Rose and Deville stand tall as the music hits. Paige's music interrupts, and out she comes with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Paige insults Rose and Deville and says she's traded up. Paige says Asuka and Sane are going to rip through the tag division starting next week with Rose and Deville. Anything there?
Dude, I don't really know. Like I said it last week. I think it's a good idea to have her be with them two to be a mouthpiece, but at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't seem to quite fit. Like it's just a weird fit, I think, with them. And the tag team division that they have there for that women's division, I still don't quite think it's quite getting any kind of traction. They really don't have that many established tag teams, and I really look at what their division is there, and I don't see that title lasting that long. Like maybe a year tops. I think they give up on it within 2020. I think.
Kayla Braxton.
Dude, why do they not bring up the four horsewomen? I mean, you could have Shayna Baszler. She could kind of be the solo act, and then you have Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke. They could be like a tag team. At least they're like an actual established tag team that like I could see them going after the women's tag team titles. But they're going to leave them down in NXT, and I really feel like what they're doing with I know Shayna Baszler is the women's champion down there, but the other two they're kind of not really doing a whole lot with them.
Because Vince probably doesn't even know they exist.
No, I don't think he does either.
He probably doesn't. Kayla Braxton is backstage with Matt Hardy, talking about Jeff Hardy. Then R-Truth comes up, and he forgets what he had to say to Matt. Matt reminds him it was probably about Lars Sullivan, because he jumped him last week or whatever. Lars appears behind Truth and Matt. Matt readies for a fight. Lars drops Truth with a headbutt. Lars ends up taking out Matt, then putting Truth through a table with a powerbomb after Truth tried to fight back, but it did nothing. So I guess that means he no-sold it. Lars stands tall over Truth, so now he did that backstage. So he's beating people up backstage, basically.
Hey, that's a big upgrade for him, considering he's doing it in the ring every single week. At least he's finally thought to do something different, I guess.
Pal, do 4 in the ring, and then we're going to do 4 backstage. I'm a genius.
Dude, I think we waited less time for Lacey Evans to have her first match, because I think they've been slowly promoting Lars practically for about 4 or 5 months now. Because I know originally he was supposed to debut and then have like a panic attack or something, and then they didn't have him on for a couple months, and then now he finally comes back, and like we said, during all this time he's literally yet to have a singles match yet.
Yeah, that was definitely before Mania, because they were saying they wanted to do Sullivan and Cena. So they debuted
and like
him.
I said, I believe it was before Lacey as well, because I think they were both part of that same crop of guys that they brought up. But I think at the same time, I think they actually started airing promos for him like about a week or 2 earlier.
Aleister Black doing the promo that he's been doing. He sends a cryptic warning to his opponents, asks for forgiveness for his own sins that he will seek absolution for in the form of victory that he will take from them. That's it. That's all it says.
Hey, at least it's a little something different. I know they did that last week, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad they're stepping back from him in the ring for a little bit and letting us have a little bit of a little bit of these vignettes or promos from him. I just, I wish it would go somewhere where we actually do see more aspects of his character or his personality. But I don't think they're going to actually go take that step with it because, God forbid they just don't ever do that with any of these guys.
AJ, Sami Zayn, Kofi Kingston for the WWE title. Kofi Kingston retains. All right. Jesus. Okay. That's the end of the show. 1.9 million. That went up 100,000 also compared to last week. AJ Styles is in a program on Raw with Seth Rollins. Vince is thinking, oh, the wild card. Now I can put AJ against Kofi if I want to. If you put him in a title match, we know damn well he's going to lose because he's fighting Seth next week on a pay-per-view for the other title. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I would look at it like that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, there you go. There's your WWE double trouble. Overall thoughts, Saint. Man, this show is in trouble.
Yeah, it's weird that, both of them shows went up because now they're going to probably look at that and be like, oh, it actually did work. We actually did get more people in, but, I don't really, I don't, like, in a way, I almost wouldn't even attribute it to that. Like, I think it's almost like a fluke. It's almost like a fluke or something, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, I really look at this, what they've done with this week's shows, and I really could see a lot of droppage next week. I could see a lot of people tuning out because of the nonsense that they did this week, especially on Raw with that revival segment. I think that probably, there's probably a lot of hardcore fans that got pissed off with that.
Yep. Kofi Kingston. Any thoughts that I'm kind of thinking that he may lose to Kevin Owens at the pay-per-view. And I think Vince just put him over Bryan in the rematch on Monday, AJ and Zayn on Tuesday, because he's going to move that title to Kevin Owens at Money in the Bank. And I think it's probably because he will get some backlash that, well, you put the title on Kofi and now you took it off him right away. Well, it's in the books now that he had 2 successful title defenses against 3 different guys. Do you see that, or am I overthinking that one?
It's a genuine fear that they're going to do that, because I look at Kofi Kingston and I look at who they have running that company, and I could bet you almost any money that they do view him as a transitional champion, that this is only going to be a short-term thing, and that they wanted to catch lightning in the bottle at WrestleMania, over the past couple months with the big push that he was getting, and maybe this is the end of it. And it's sad because, as we've said probably 20 times on this channel, probably even more than that, like he is one of the best guys they have on that roster. And it's crazy to me that, all these years later, now he's finally getting that title shot, because it's almost like they didn't realize they had what they had on their hands all them years. And it looks like maybe, like you said, it is possible they're going to take the belt right off him and put it on Owens, and I kind of hope they don't do that. I really don't, because I'd like to see him get an actual legitimate reign out of this and run with it and make something of that title. But I have, like I said, I have genuine fears that they're just not going to do it. I think, like you said, I think it's very possible Owens comes away with that title, or maybe even they have the Money in the Bank cash in and Kofi loses it that way. That could easily happen as well.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about these two. I can't believe this quickly after WrestleMania we are in basically read 'em and weep mode, and and I'm not watching it already. And I feel like we do need to just keep reporting on it, because I think we owe it to some people. There's not a whole lot of people that are going to trash things the way we do when it's necessary to trash things. And but I think I'm up against it, man. I'm up against the WWE wall. I'm like John Moxley trying to punch through the wall. I'm at the end of my rope with it. I don't think it's going to get better. I don't see it getting better. They obviously know, there was a report out today that they changed their policy about uploading shows during Raw and SmackDown. They're waiting to do it. You know how usually they would do the first segment, start uploading it, and the first segment of Raw would be available like at 9:45 or 8:45 on YouTube. They stopped doing that specifically this week because of the ratings. So obviously they're aware of the problem. Obviously McMahon gave marching orders to their social media to not do that, to at least wait until after the shows are aired. But this is the stuff they're coming up with. Nothing that you and I suggested last week. His great idea, his genius idea was this wild card rule. We're going to see the same guys now on both shows. I'm sure it's going to be the top guys that are going to be moving back and forth. Next week, I'm sure it'll be Seth Rollins on SmackDown because AJ took his turn. Then that's going to become the carbon copy recipe. Just like they've been doing, now they're just going to do it. From moving here from here forward, it's going to be these three guys and these three guys, and then they're going to inter switch them and do the next three guys. So I'm sure next week Strowman and Seth and Lars and I don't know, Orton comes over to Raw. You're going to see that next tier of guys, and then that's going to get boring too. So if that's the best they can do, Saint, they're telling me, you know what? Just go away from us because we're not going to do it for you. We can't do it for you. We're not going to make you happy. You just go and watch Twitch every Friday night and enjoy your Impact because you're not going to enjoy this. So, moving forward, Saint, God, May 25th cannot come soon enough is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest date coming up that we're really looking forward to, everybody on this channel. I think, honestly, it's going to be practically a saving grace. We practically have been yearning this since practically the very first time we recorded any kind of content for this. I think that was one of the very first things we said we were looking forward to, and it's finally almost here. And I think it's going to totally blow everything else out of the water that WWE's been doing, since WrestleMania season. I could easily see, all them matches are probably going to be practically like light years ahead of anything they've done within the last couple months on WWE programming. And, they've been the flagship for all these years, practically since the 80s. Maybe that time might be coming to a close soon. It's not that improbable if you think about it. I mean, with everything going on, I could easily see maybe within the next 10 years or so, maybe maybe they could be the number 2.
I can definitely see it because there's going to be a change in the guard. Like we said, I said to what's his name there on that show I did with him last week. I can't remember his name. Attitude Era. Cody cut that promo. I think the new era that Vince should have created but didn't create is going to be created by AEW. We might look back on this in 10 years and we'll be calling it the Elite Era. And it's not going to have anything to do with WWE.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. I think a lot of people, too, are not giving this thing a chance, but I can almost guarantee you, once their TV deal hits, there's going to be a lot more people tune into this than I think, people are projecting, because I think a lot of people, some people are probably in the mode where they are just shitting on this, but I know for a fact a lot of people are probably going to tune in, and I think they're going to be surprised, because I think they're actually going to like what they see, and they're going to stick around, because clearly, if you're bitching about WWE and, AEW is going to be doing the opposite, realistically, wouldn't you want to watch the product? Like, it just baffles me that, there's the same people bitching about WWE that they are on this bandwagon where they say they're not going to even give it a chance when it, airs October, September, whenever the hell it's supposed to kick off. It's very weird.
Yep. You have anything else you'd like to say, Electric City Saint?
Yeah, there are a little bit of rumors, a little bit of fuel to the fire. I wouldn't take a whole lot out of it, but apparently Jake Hager, as you probably know him better as Jack Swagger, he has a big fight coming up in about a week, and he said that he has some guests that are going to be showing up, and he described them as elite. Any thoughts on what that might be about?
Guests as in what are they going to be walking him out?
That part it doesn't seem like it didn't really specify, but he did say that he's going to have some guests joining him for that fight. Now, whether they walk him out or not, I don't know, but that would be, I think at that point, that would have to be a telltale sign that there's something going on there if that ends up being the case.
Absolutely. I didn't hear that, so that's interesting. When's the fight?
I believe this is May 11th, I think it is.
Oh, wow. So 3 days?
So that's
2 days from now.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's coming up pretty quick. He's going up against TJ Jones. It's a Bellator MMA fight.
Nice. That'll be something that we can keep an eye on over the weekend.
Yeah, it'd be, dude, it seriously could be, very interesting if something does come out of that, because when we first did, we're covering AEW early on into the life of this channel, that was, I think one of the guys that we had on our short list, I think I said him, and I think you said him also, that we'd like to see him come into AEW. I think he'd be a perfect fit for what they are going to be offering.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we haven't actually seen what they're going to do yet, but at the same time, I feel like he'd kind of fit the mold, as funny as that sounds.
Awesome. You got anything else?
No, dude, that's going to do it for me, I think, for this week. Do have some good stuff coming up, though, that maybe we'll be covering here shortly. I mean, we did say, the big AEW show is coming up, and then also Best of Super Juniors. Maybe we might see some coverage on this channel regarding that too. I something I'm looking forward to. I'm not sure if it's as much something you're really interested in, but I think maybe next week, sometime or early this weekend, we might have something regarding that.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge Juniors fan, honestly, when I was watching it hardcore. I was more into the G1, but it's all good. I mean, if you're a Super Juniors fan, sure, maybe we'll get together and maybe go through the brackets that were just released this week. I don't know. Maybe we should read them and weep about WWE. Maybe we need to cleanse our souls with some New Japan wrestling. Might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it would be too, especially, to me, it's been a slow couple of weeks here with WWE. There's nothing there for me. So, AEW coming up, New Japan coming up, maybe even TNA even, I think I definitely need to get a different look at the wrestling business, because seriously, it's like I can't take it with WWE right now.
I know I haven't been very entertaining tonight or positive or even talking to you much. I'm just miserable. I'm miserable reading the shit. Like I said, I saw Monday night, I saw that opening segment and I turned it off, and then I came back and just in time, lucky me, I saw the Uzi hot shit, and it's nothing on Smackdown. I haven't watched really anything for the first time in a while. So of course I saw the Funhouse too after it aired, but that was it, man. So to read the stuff it's actually, man, it might be more annoying reading it Because,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing there. It's just a chaotic, throw everybody in a box and shake it up, shake up. And then whatever falls out, and make sense of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I wouldn't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but I think probably one of the first things that comes to your mind is headache inducing.
Sure.
Especially reading these results. It's like, ay.
It's migraine inducing. You know, the kind that you can't open your eyes because the light just hurts. That's what it is.
You know, too, it's like, I try to be, I think, out of the four of us, I try to be one of the more positive people, regarding stuff, and try to, give some stuff a chance. But at the same time, it's like, there's just no way I could be positive about any of this stuff that they're doing. It's mediocre at best.
At best,
I try to give some of it a chance. But seriously, like the last 2 weeks, I can't bring myself to watch their programming.
No. You know what? We got to end this show right now because I'm done. WWE. We got to stop. Last words, Saint?
No, none at all. I'm just,
Okay.
very thankful that we have fans that are still tuning in, despite this. As I know the last 2 weeks we probably haven't been the most exciting to listen to, but at the same time, it's like I genuinely cannot get, excited over this stuff. And you're seeing it with Jeff too. I think he's just having a very tough time really getting excited about this stuff. It's just, there's nothing there for us.
No. So for the Electric City Saint, I'm Hollywood Edwards. Next time. Later.